Hello, welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System, and before we start, I hope you are all well, staying home and staying safe. For the last few weeks I've been using what I think is a very interesting set of HiFi cables in my main review system, and those cables are from the company Jorma Design. Jorma Design are a Swedish company that was formed in 2001, and in 2016 they was taken over by Martin, the Swedish high-end speaker manufacturer. And on that point, for those of you who think what's the point in using upgraded or aftermarket cables when inside the speaker all they're using is generic cable, well, think again, because inside all Martin speakers is cable from Jorma Design, and maybe that's one of the reasons why those speakers sound as good as they do. Looking at the full Jorma Design product line, there are 6 main ranges, from the statement being their best and most expensive, with speaker cables costing in the 20s of thousands of pounds. What's interesting is all the cable ranges use high purity 8/9 copper as their main conductors. They don't use silver, and in the more expensive models they have pure ceramic cores. Now, I'd really like to find out more about that as a design choice and why they do that. Maybe I'll get the chance to find out in the future. I want to thank Nintronics, the excellent HiFi and AV dealership based in Hertfordshire in the UK, for loaning me this sample for this review. And speaking to the guys today, bearing in mind we had our, or in the UK we had our lockdown put in place last night, the guys at Nintronics are going to continue to trade via online sales and telephone based sales, and I want to wish them all the best. These are extremely difficult times, and I want to extend that all the best out to all the other excellent HiFi dealerships and AV dealerships across the UK, because I'm sure all of them will be doing their best to support their customers via online and telephone based trade. And there's never been a better time or a more important time to support your dealers. So if anything's of interest, there's also never been a better time to upgrade your system, because you're probably going to get quite a bit of time to listen to it and use it. Speaking of time, the cable range that I've been spending this time with is the Jorma Trinity. I've been using the Trinity speaker cables, the single-ended phono Analogue interconnects, and one power cable. Now, the Jorma Trinity is Jorma's entry level, or the entry point into their cable designs, but when the speaker cables cost £2,250 for a 3-meter pair, they're clearly not entry level priced, and they're definitely not entry level in performance. Looking at the spec sheet, the 8/9 purity copper jumps out to me. Also, what jumps out to me is their use of multi-threaded conductors that have a ceramic fiber filler, and also an RFI and an EMI shielding system. In the flesh, the Jorma Trinity cables are understated in their design and looks, and all the cables are individually separated. They are slim, flexible, and very nice. The only real markings on the cables are that Jorma logo with the serial numbers and the installation directions. I really like the use of WBT connectors on the single-ended phono interconnects. In contrast, it looks like rhodium has been used as the plating for the speaker cable spade connectors, with gold being preferred on the WBT connectors on the interconnects. In practice, I found the cables very easy to install, very easy to live with. The fact they're black, they pretty much disappeared very easily, and they pretty much disappeared sonically as well. Before I talk about the sound quality from these cables, I want to point out that I've also created a demonstration video for these cables in my main review system. Now, that is a recorded demonstration of that system using studio grade recording equipment like I always do. And the reason I create those videos, well, there's a few reasons really, but the main reason is so that you can get an actual context for the review. You get to see the system, you get to see what components are being used in a certain type of room, what conditions that these cables have been reviewed in, and you get to hear the sound of that system for yourself through a very high quality audio recording. And there'll be a link up there to take you straight to that video. So for the sound quality of the Jorma Design Trinity cables, throughout the time that I've been listening to them and reviewing them, I was making notes and how I felt about the sound of the system. And then to cross-reference these results or the notes that I was making, I started to change the cables in and out of the system one at a time. And in doing so, it helped me to isolate what these cables were doing. And it really hit home to me that I think these cables work better when you use them as a full set. And the second thing to come from all the testing of the Jorma Trinity cables and how I feel about them, and I'm going to use a musical phrase to describe it, it is they are easy like Sunday morning. So I'm just going to read out to you some of the main and key notes that I wrote down throughout this review period. I wrote that the cables have an excellent soundstage with great space between me and the music, or me and the system. It's a relaxed and smooth sound, but detailed with a very nicely detailed treble. There is a very nice mid-range, and bass is tight, not overblown, but solid and tight. Hard to fault, forgiving, fantastic overall really, and better when used as a set. So I sounded like I was impressed through the period, and I have been very impressed. And I think that the sound characteristics of them will make them very, very appealing to a lot of different audiophiles. I think it will just balance nicely with a lot of different systems. But as I mentioned, as I was changing the cables out one at a time and listening to the changes in my system, some things were getting better and some things were getting worse. That pointed out to me, I think, some of the trade-offs of this Jorma Trinity cable range. Now, I think they trade off some bass and overall sound gusto, and maybe some extended dynamics more in the low end rather than the top end, in favour of a really tight and controlled and focused sound. I would say there is a trade-off in overall sound excitement for a more relaxed and three-dimensional soundstage. It was the three-dimensional aspect of the sound of my review system that was being lost when I was taking any either or of the cables out of the system. Again, that is why I mentioned and bring up the point about using them as a set. Looking at the prices for the Jorma Trinity cables, the power cable for 1.5 meters will cost you £800. The RCA analog cables are £970. And again, as I mentioned, the speaker cables are £2,250. So with a little bit of a Terry 10 discount, you're looking at about £4,000 for the set that I've been using for this review. So it is, yeah, it's an investment amount of money for HiFi cables, but it's far from crazy money, and definitely not crazy money for the sound quality that they deliver. I will say it took me a little while to really appreciate what these cables were doing, and I've really started to appreciate them as a set when I started taking them out of the system, which is always a really interesting sign of whether you do or don't appreciate and don't like something. What I will say is, if you're after some cables that will give you a relaxed and smooth but detailed sound with excellent soundstage and a really very nice treble, completely harshness and glare free. They're also very forgiving and very flexible and hugely enjoyable to listen to. If that sounds appealing, if that sounds like the sort of cables that you'd be interested or would like in your system, then I'll definitely recommend having a demonstration of the Jorma Trinity cables. Bearing in mind, demo them as a full set. I have been really very impressed with them, and I think it's been a very lovely introduction to me for this new cable company. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been useful and helpful. Don't forget to also go and watch the demonstration video that I've created to add extra context to this review. It's nothing like hearing things for yourself. Make sure to stay safe, make sure to stay home, make sure to wash your hands. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.